video. I've done one recently talking about Model Context Protocol, or MCP, and how to think about that. If you haven't seen that video, I suggest that you stop this one, pause, go find the other one, watch that, and then come back and watch this one. This is a bit of an extension. So I won't review everything that I did in that prior one, but that's good information to have. And this one will make a lot more sense if you see that one first. Okay, so for those of you who have, this is just a short extension to that one. Previously, I showed the MCP client Gemini, in my case, the Gemini CLI, plugging into an MCP server, and then I put Apigee in between the client Gemini and the MCP server to verify an API key. Now I want to extend it a little bit more and show you how Apigee can also verify an OAuth token. So I won't spend too much more time on MCP. I'll briefly go over the MCP server. This is nothing really exotic. It's something I wrote. It's a wrapper on a couple of different network APIs, and there are some tools that get presented. And Gemini is the client in this case. So if I show my Gemini settings file, this is what it looks like. This is the endpoint. That points to an Apigee proxy. And I'm also giving Gemini information on OAuth, how to authenticate to this endpoint. That would include the authorization and token URL, the client ID and secret, and the scopes needed for that particular user. So let's click over to Apigee. We have the API proxy here. It's this one. And like the one that did the API key verification, this one's fairly simple. It's fairly thin. It has single target, and that target points to the MCP server that's running in Cloud Run. The main thing that this proxy does in the proxy endpoint is verify that inbound JWT. Nothing really exotic there either. Is it a JWT signed with RS-256? Can I verify the signature with a key that's available at that endpoint? And can I verify that the issuer is that? Now, normally I'd use something like Okta or some commercial OIDC server. Don't have access to that, so this is really just a sample server, but it works the same. So whatever OIDC server that you have, you should be able to configure it similarly to this in the Gemini settings, and that would also apply to other MCP clients, things like Claude or Copilot. You can do similar things with the OAuth settings. All right, so once verified, the Apigee proxy will inject a header, an additional header into the upstream request, the thing that gets sent to the MCP server, and that's just the contents of some of the decoded claims from that verified JWT. At that point, the MCP server can do what it wants with that information. It can either just log it, or it can make decisions, can make routing decisions, or access control decisions, whatever. This should be treated as a verified identity, verified information from the inbound request. All right, so that's how, it's pretty thin. That's how the proxy works. I'm going to start a debug session so we can see it working in practice. And let me switch over now to my Gemini client. So this is just the Gemini CLI, the open source CLI. Now starting it up with that settings file that I already showed you, you can see we've got a new message. It's saying, I'm looking for a token for that flight stats server. Didn't find credentials. We need to authenticate. So it's saying you got to authenticate for that thing. If I press Control T, I can see the tools, the MCP servers that are available to this client, and it's telling me likewise I got to authenticate. So let me just grab that and authenticate, and we'll see what happens. It is now going to kick off the OIDC sign-in, and what we'd expect is a browser page to pop open and request me to sign in. So that's what I'm seeing here. That's this window that popped up. This is just a test server, so I'm just going to log in, and the next thing it's going to ask me is, would you like to consent to this system using your access token? I'll say yes. It's telling me, yep, that's successful. Flip back to Gemini, and it's got that. So successfully authenticated. and now it's available. So at this point, I can now ask it questions. Summary of current flight. Let's call it aircraft flight. Activity around Seattle right now. As before in the prior video that I showed you, Gemini, the CLI, is going to say, hey, I think we have a tool here that can help with that. Would you like to allow me to use it? And I have to grant consent here in the tool itself as well, even though I've already authenticated. And then Gemini is going to go invoke those tools that are available in the MCP server. And this is stuff that you saw before. Now, it's going to present the summary and all that. That's all going to be interesting. But what I really wanted to show you was the debug session. So as Gemini is communicating with that MCP server through the API proxy, through the Apigee proxy, we can see the inbound requests, the initialize request. This is one that's going to say the client is initialized. We're going to list the tools. This is all just standard kind of bootstrappy MCP stuff. And then this one is saying, in response to my prompt, give me the flight activity around Seattle. It's saying, hey, I want to resolve this name, this place name, Seattle, to a latitude and longitude coordinate that I need in order to get the flight activity. And that's what I'm seeing here is the response from the MCP server saying, oh, that Seattle, that's this place. And then the subsequent call would be, okay, well then give me the flight activity for that. And this time the MCP server is going to send back all the data around the flights. You can see all that, and then you can now see that that's the summary table that the Gemini CLI produced. So what did we see? MCP being proxied by Apigee. You already have, if you're using Apigee, you already have an excellent gateway for managing remote MCP traffic in your network, including HTTP streamable MCP servers. Apigee's not going to help much with the standard I/O, which you should think of, I think of, as useful for the local MCP server, like something that might read your file system or something that might do something that's local to the system that it's running on. In the enterprise, we generally see many more scenarios where a remote MCP server will be the appropriate thing. And in that case, we need to govern that. We need to kind of provide the right management on that. And that's where Apigee can help. So it's Gemini or Claude or something similar to that, some sort of agent plugging into, of course, the LLM that's upstream that is powering this, but also MCP tools that may be remote in your network, and you can put Apigee right in there in line with those requests to do things like verifying tokens, executing, enforcing access control, enforcing rate limits, doing routing, acting as a facade as you would for any REST API. There may be a possibility for you to want to expose an MCP server that is a composite from multiple different systems, and you can use Apigee to do that too. So lots of interesting possibilities in addition to getting metrics and analytics and all of that, the tracing capability, all of that good stuff with the Apigee gateway using remote MCP servers from off-the-shelf MCP clients like Gemini CLI. Okay, that's all I've got. Hope this has been interesting as a follow-on to that prior video. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. Till next time, keep it digital.